All right, I'm going to, in honor of the episode 9 trailer coming out on Monday night. I've been meaning to do this for a while, but I'm just going to talk about my thoughts, feelings on the movie releases from, Lucasfilm in reference to Star Wars. The OG trilogy, the prequels, the sequel trilogy, even the animated Clone Wars release that came out. Trying to give some brief feelings. I might ramble a little bit when it comes to my favorite movie of them all here shortly, but my opinions are just going to be all the good things that I felt about them. Yes, there's going to be, everybody has differences of opinions. They can say some negative things, blah blah blah. There's enough of that shit that goes around, so that's not what I'm going to do at all. I'm just going to say, hey, per movie, this is how it affected me, and hopefully you'll gain some insight out of it. If not, then probably only 12 people are going to watch this video anyway. So it's all good. First off, the original of all of them came out in May 1977. I get my love of Star Wars from my parents because as early as me having a memory, they told me the story of they went and stood in line the day or the weekend that it came out to get tickets. They got tickets. They went and played, multiple rounds of tennis with some friends of theirs to kind of kill the day. They went back and got back in line and saw Star Wars. And, it's still an event movie type experience today. But what drew me to Star Wars in the first place is sitting and listening to their stories of like it was world ending. It was an event to rival any event known to man when Star Wars came out. I mean, you're talking about lines around blocks, not just singular, plural. I mean, it's as big as what we have always heard because that came out in May 77. I was born in May 78. So my entire life on this earth has been in reference to Star Wars. Everything was introduced in this movie. First time you got to see Han. First time you got to see Luke, Obi-Wan, R2, C-3PO, Vader, Leia, Tarkin. You got just the initial steps into, pardon the pun, a much larger world. Did I know what I was watching back then, like it would change my life? No, I just knew that what I was seeing, my brain couldn't comprehend the greatness of it. And it's kind of nice being at the age that I am now that I can look back and go, damn, I did not realize at the time that my entire world was being changed and forever imprinted on by these movies, which is kind of cool now. So when you go back and watch them now, it's a little bit of a different feel, more of an intimate feel, more of a nostalgic feel, all the good feelings that we all have with movies that we love. And I can credit that, again, back to my parents. I mean, my parents are certified movie freaks. They've since birth instilled in my sister and I is that movies are an enjoyable, can be life-changing thing. So I will always thank them for that, along with all the other great things that they did for our lives. But movies is where it's at. My mom, of course, has her preferences of chick flicks, and my dad has a preference for goofy comedies, but I can consider myself an amalgamation of the two of them combined with I can take her likes, his likes, mix it in with mine, add science fiction because I'm the resident nerd. But, all that being said, this is where it started. This is Star Wars and Star Trek. I know it's an abomination to mention them both in the same, but I love them equally, but for different reasons. And again, I enjoy A New Hope. It holds up well for me. It's not my favorite. We're getting ready to talk about my favorite, but it does still to this day hold well because of the nostalgic ties that it has. That this was the beginning of it all. This, without question, without debate, without This is the only thing in Star Wars that I love hearing everybody else's opinion. I love being able to discuss it with an open mind, with a positive mindset. This is the only line in the sand that I will ever, as myself, say, but in my humblest of opinion, from beginning, middle to end, this is the pinnacle of Star Wars. It will always be that way to me. It will never be different. Some have come close, but there is nothing greater to me than Empire Strikes Back. That's just me. That doesn't make me right, wrong, indifferent. That's just this is if there was a check mark list of 20 items that says, okay, this has to hit 20 to equal perfection, it hits 30 of them. I'll just put it like that. From everything, from Vader's reveal at the end, which is what the movie will always be remembered the most about, to Han and Leia's connection being created here, to seeing Boba Fett for the first time, to see Lando for the first time, to see the Falcon really be the Falcon per se, to seeing Vader become the man as like the bad, because he was good in A New Hope, but he really got to get into his shit per se in Empire. He became the badass that he is known for today. To hear Imperial March for the first time, to see even though it was in a hologram, to see the Emperor for the first time, to go like, okay, Vader is the baddest of all the baddest, and Vader's kneeling down to this dude. So you're like, oh shit, who is that dude? But the absolute thing that still to this day will bring a tear, and I'm literally meaning this, a tear or three to my eye, makes my eyes tear up, I have a hard time breathing, will always be Yoda. Seeing him for the first time, hearing him for the first time. As a child, I had no ability to comprehend what it was doing to me. All I knew was that is the greatest character I've ever seen in a movie. As a grown adult, I know what it was doing to me, and I know, but to not ramble on too long, but literally the scene where he goes from crazy old hermit to having enough of Luke just fussing like a little kid, and him taking a deep breath, then going, I cannot teach him. The boy has no patience. And then at that moment, for the very first time I saw it, you go, oh man, that's him. That's him. That's who Obi-Wan just sent Luke halfway across the galaxy to go find. That's the Jedi Master of all Jedi Masters. That's Yoda. That's him, because you don't know at first. I mean, he's basically he comes off as a just an absolute psychopath. I mean, when you first meet him, I mean, he beats R2 with a stick. Go back and watch the scene. It's played perfectly. He plays. He acts. I mean, it's amazing what he does. It's amazing what Frank Oz does. Let me give the credit where credit's due. But it's played to absolute, pure, unadulterated perfection. And then the moment when he says, okay, now it's time to tell you exactly who in the F I am, he calmly turns around and then just stoically stands there. And I'm like, oh, as a kid, I said, oh man. As a grown adult, I'll still say, oh shit, that was the moment that he just schooled Luke and said, dude, I'm that dude. You need to quit. And then hearing Yoda's theme for the first time, again, John Williams is the pinnacle of movie composers. I know there are many more. I have many other favorites, but they're all in second place compared to John Williams. I mean, they're from Vader's theme to Leia's theme to Han's music to Luke's music to Yoda's music. I mean, good Christ, to the Emperor's music. I mean, it just... Schindler's List, Jurassic Park, Jaws, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Saving Private Ryan. I mean, the dude has written the music that I've lived with my entire life on this earth. So, again, that's a little side rant, but so hearing Yoda's theme the first time when he lifts the X-Wing out of the swamp and basically just calmly drops it, and Luke saying, I don't believe it, and Yoda saying, that's why you fail. Again, as a kid, you don't understand it because you've not really had failures. As an adult, you watch what he's saying at that point, you can actually learn life lessons from what Yoda's saying at that moment. So, all right, so rant over, but it's the greatest. Full stop. I won't ever be convinced otherwise. I love everybody else's opinions of what might be the greatest, but no. All right. If Empire was the intimate, nuanced big brother, this is his little brother who just likes to pew 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 blow up stuff, and it's just as cool, just in a different way. Return of the Jedi, from Vader turning at the end back to the light side, to the not well thought out plan to get Han out, because he sent in a lot of people. I don't know if that was on purpose. That's up for debate, but Luke really sent in Lando, Chewbacca, R2, C-3PO, Leia, then himself. So again, I choose to want to believe that him being the Grand Master of the Jedi Order, that it was all a well thought out sequence of events, or could just be, let's throw something against the wall and see what sticks. Anyway, I was always surprised, especially when I got older, that it took up near 40 minutes of the beginning of the whole movie. That was just dedicated to getting Han out. But an excellent sequence of events. The Sarlacc pit fight. Seeing the green lightsaber for the first time. Still gives me goosebumps. As a child, I cried. I remember crying. Because you're like, oh God, it's green. It's my favorite. Green's my favorite color in real life. And that might have been it, but it was just like back then, before the internet and all the other books and stuff. All you ran around was, oh God, that's a green lightsaber, because it was different from the blue one. Times were simpler back then. So when he sparks the green one after flipping in the air and getting it thrown by R2, you're just like, oh shit, that's amazing. But anyway, to the end, which I still to this day, I mean, I might be open to some wiggle room, but I'm pretty steadfast in the mindset that still to this day, the space battle at the end is the greatest space battle ever committed to film ever. And that's saying a lot, because this came out in May of '83. We're near 2020 now. For my money, from beginning to end, there's not a more epic, more, oh my God, space battle. The trench run in New Hope is good, but the final battle over Endor is just nuts. Especially, you can't make it any more enjoyable than having "It's a Trap" the whole time. I mean, Akbar doing I'm not even gonna do it, but it's just literally him going, "It's a trap." I'm 41, near 42 years old, and I just got goosebumps by now saying "It's a trap." So there you go. So there it is. All right, the prequels. I had difficult emotions when the prequels came out, just because I inherently was doing the whole, this is good, but it's not this. This is good, but it's not that. I've come to have a much greater appreciation over time as the prequels. Literally think of them as wine. Literally, as they age, you can tend to get a greater appreciation for them. Even more so now, seeing as how they were the last three that the creator was involved in, being George Lucas, involved in at such a, intimate level that he was, being the director on all three, being the creator, being behind the scenes on pretty much everything from start to finish on all three. Plus, these were his babies. He wanted to tell the story of the movies wasn't ever about technically Luke. It was, to him, it was always about the story of Anakin. So I'm glad, he was able to get to tell that. Plus, if we didn't have the prequels, we wouldn't have Darth Maul, and to me, that would be an absolute criminal shame. We wouldn't have Duel of the Fates. We wouldn't have Palpatine becoming the puppet master. That was well executed. I'm sorry, but the politics have always gotten a bad rap in the prequels. But Palpatine on his own, watching what he did, that was to me excellent. That was a well created character arc from Senator of Naboo in episode 1 to the absolute epitome of Satan, come episode 4, 5, and 6. So that was well done, which makes me, on a side note, even more so excited for episode 9, seeing as how the evil of all evil from the beginning of all this is coming back to hopefully give one last, hoorah to the galaxy type thing. So the prequels were, to me they were good. They weren't excellent like the first 3 were, but they have many, many, many great moments that, had we not gotten the prequels, I think we would have been missing out on a lot, as far as cinema moments. Excellent scores. I mean, episode 1, 2, and 3, I dare to say, might be sacrilege to some, but I think they have just as good, if not better, music. Like, again, going back, Duel of the Fates, Battle of the Heroes in episode 3, the one where it's playing between Anakin and Obi-Wan fighting and Yoda and the Emperor fighting. Go back and listen to the score. That's an excellent track. Anakin's Dark Deed. It's just so they have just as much. Duel of the Fates to me is on par, neck and neck with the Imperial March. That's just my opinion, because Duel of the Fates was just that as epic, and that, oh my God, what is this? Fun fact of trivia. It's it's kind of like a laughing joke now, but back in the day when the scores came out, and the internet was in its infancy in 99 when this came out, May of 99, they gave away a big ass spoiler on the soundtrack. Go back and look at the soundtrack tracks. Qui-Gon's Noble End is one of the last tracks on the score. And I remember being in Orlando buying the soundtrack before I saw the movie. And I'm like, I wonder what that means. And then at the end, I'm like, oh, that's what that means. I was like, really? Are they really gonna? I was like, no, they're not gonna fuck up that bad and go basically give away the fucking end of the movie that Qui-Gon dies. I'm like, no. And then he gets a damn lightsaber through the gut, and I'm like, fuck, yeah, they did that. They actually did that. So, yeah, that's a fun little laughing joke in the lore of Star Wars, is that basically they give away the ending of episode 1 on the back of the score by the track listing. But again, just either go on iTunes or go on Google Play and bring up the soundtrack again, look at the track listings. It might be, if memory serves, next to last track. It's not the last track, but it's got to be next to last track of the score. So that was laughable. Let's go episode 2. Episode 2 was pretty good. The lightsaber fight at the end, a la Gladiator, the battle on Geonosis, was the first time I kind of, my brain melted when I saw that many lightsabers turn on at one time. I'm like, oh shit, this is gonna be good. So again, the prequels for me are like a collection of massive high points, like moments. They're not like continuous beginning to end. Oh, I love this, I love that. But they have many multiple high moments of drama. Seeing Mace Windu turn on his purple lightsaber for the first time is nuts. I still go back and look at like, dude's a badass. He's the only one ever got a purple saber. So the Battle of Geonosis at the end, Anakin trying to take on Dooku, losing but still doing a good job. And then I'll just tell the experience that I had. I was in a movie theater in Orlando, Florida. If anybody knows who's listening will know. It was at the AMC 24 Downtown Disney. It was in theater number 2, which was theater number 1 and theater number 2 at this movie theater has 3 levels. 3 levels. It was sold out, of course, because it was opening night. So 3 levels sell out, in that is 300 plus people. 300 plus people had a combination of panic attacks, screaming fits, spilled drinks. The moment that Yoda walks in at the end with his little cane, walking in all, just acting all weak. And then when he opens up his cape, his cloak, and calls his saber, he doesn't reach down like a punk like everybody else and puts it in his hand. Dude reaches his hand out, calls his saber to his hand by the force, and sparks it on. As till I die, there will never be an experience that I will have in any movie that equaled that right there, because that had not been seen. 300 plus people had combination aneurysms, orgasms, and then I'm sure somebody passed the fuck out, because it was in unison. Most of the theater stood to their feet. Everybody screamed. 2 people in front of me threw their popcorn. I mean, I defy anybody to ever say there was a moment, if you were a fan, that was greater than that moment if you were experiencing it in the movie theater for the very first time. Was when Yoda sparked up his saber and went one-on-one against Dooku. Now, granted, there's other moments coming up that are equal to, but nothing that will surpass that, at least for me, because I had never in my life until that moment experienced something that has been, nor has been to this day, greater than that moment of 300 plus people screaming in unison when you see a little miniature green lightsaber turn on. Episode 3, really good. It is the best of the prequels. To me, it's the Empire Strikes Back of the prequels. From a storyline basis, what it shows, how sad it really is, what drove Anakin. I mean, really, if you want to be, Anakin didn't have a desire for evil. He really just wanted to save his wife. So I can understand the drive. It's still not the right thing to do, because then you can't go in and murder little younglings. But all that being said, I understand where he at least was coming from. And plus, granted, back in the day when these came out, I was like, oh man, that's some bullshit. But seeing as how he was susceptible, he was already power hungry. Plus, he was being seduced by literally the strongest Sith. It's explained and proven in canon also that Sidious is the greatest, strongest Sith of all time, rivaling only Darth Bane, Darth Revan, and the original Emperor, like Vitiate, from 4,000 years prior. So basically, he was getting worked by the greatest Sith, absolutely, of his era, and probably in the top 3 to 4 in recorded history, talking about, hundreds of thousands of years prior up to that point. So it would just consider it a perfect storm of shit that happened all at the same time. And as far as battles go in any Star Wars movie, kind of like I said, full stop, Empire is the greatest movie. The greatest singular battle, lightsaber battle, and hasn't been topped since, is Anakin versus Obi-Wan. Like, nobody can convince me otherwise. So I guess maybe I need to change my statement. I have 2 non-negotiables that can't be changed. Empire is the greatest movie. Anakin versus Obi-Wan is hands down the greatest, most vicious, most gut-wrenching lightsaber battle that's ever been put to film, celluloid. There's just not. I mean, Yoda and Sidious is really good, but Anakin and Obi-Wan, I'm talking about, like, they just went at it. Again, go back and watch it from frame to frame. There's even a video on YouTube where it's just like somebody spliced just their fight together. They took out the Yoda and Sidious intercuts and just did Anakin and Obi-Wan from beginning to the end of the battle. So it's just that good. Clone Wars. I didn't really enjoy it over the top, but going back to just trying to keep this as good as possible, what I am going to say is this out of this movie created the best beginning to end Star Wars content that I've ever enjoyed. Movies aside, Empire is a singular movie that I think is the pinnacle of Star Wars itself. But as far as like in a serialized format, and as far as continuous content, the Clone Wars animated series is second to none. Rebels was extremely well done. I love what Dave Filoni did, but as far as Clone Wars, as far as the lore that was introduced, it gave me the story that I always wanted. As far as Anakin, it fleshed out why he was the chosen one, how powerful he was, the long con, if you will, of Sidious against him. It just didn't, because in Revenge of the Sith, it just felt too quick. It felt like, damn, he was a Jedi, a general in the Galactic Republic, and at the end of the movie, he's a Sith murdering everybody. It just felt quick. At least in the Clone Wars show, it was a slow burn, which then added to my love now of Revenge of the Sith, because it was only a like at that point. But watch the series from beginning to end, see how it was set up. That made Revenge of the Sith excellent in my eyes. Again, why I call it the Empire Strikes Back of the prequels. All right, now we're getting to the sequel side, the sequel trilogy, Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Excellent. It is a very heavy homage to A New Hope. Almost beat for beat in some places, but I was okay with that because it needed to happen that way, because that's how Star Wars was introduced to the world back in 1977. This was how it needed to be reintroduced to the world in 2015, because A New Hope, beat for beat, is a perfect movie, as in like the good guys, start their journey. The good guys have adversity. The good guys lose their mentor. The good guys are on the brink of being destroyed, and they beat the bad guys. It is a beat for beat, serialized from the 20s, 30s, and 40s. The good guy story, the hero's journey, blah, blah, blah. That's what made it. It's a perfect beginning. I wouldn't say it's a perfect movie, but it's a perfect beginning to a story. That's why I can appreciate how The Force Awakens was, even though that was a gripe. Some people said, like, it's a reboot of New Hope. Okay, well, that kind of, it needed to be that way, at least in my estimation, because by 2015, a lot of people had forgotten what A New Hope was when it came out, because you had that age group in their 30s at that point, if they were born with it, or even older. So the new generation, meaning the kids and young adults, were able to catch that fire. That's why domestically, it is the highest grossing movie of all time, at nearly grossing $1 billion by itself here in the United States. There's a reason for that. It's because it was well put together. You had new characters that, yes, they mirrored the old characters in Luke, Han, and Leia. So you had Kylo Ren being the grandson of Vader. Spoiler alert. Rey being the absolute epitome of Luke, just the female version of him, and 10 times stronger. I mean, good God. Finn, to me, came off as the new reluctant hero archetype, and all that stuff. The only thing I will say about The Force Awakens that I can't handle, and it's why I've never been able to watch it again since going to the theater from beginning to end. I've watched it many times in pieces. I can't watch it from beginning to end because I refuse to watch Han Solo fucking die. That's the only thing I can't handle. No, I can't handle it. Because he's fucking Han Solo. And he died. So, fuck that. Anyway, Rogue One. Rogue One is excellent. Top to bottom, excellent. It's shocking in a very good way. And the fact that they were brave and they pulled the trigger and every good guy dies. Like, I didn't see that coming a mile away. From Saw Gerrera to Chirrut Îmwe to Baze Malbus to Jyn Erso to Cassian Andor to K2SO to Krennic. They all fucking died. So I'm like, wow, that was ballsy. That's what made this movie excellent. Told the story of the Death Star. It literally went back and fixed and retconned the biggest plot hole in Star Wars history. How the hell could this murder machine that just blew up Alderaan get taken out by two little photons down a ventilation shaft, just pew pew, and then it blows up? It goes back and retcons all that in a very inventive and nuanced way of saying the reluctant creator of this doomsday weapon knew what it was going to be used for and intrinsically developed a weakness that nobody could detect till it was too fucking late. And to me, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Excellent score by Michael Giacchino. I'm biased because he did the score for the greatest TV show ever made, that being Lost. There's even many cue points in the score that reminds me of Lost, which makes me love it even more. So I'm sorry I have a little bias there, but oh well. And like the greatest, it has the greatest, like I was saying, Revenge of the Sith has the greatest overall duel put to film. Rogue One will always be remembered like Empire has the "No, I'm your father" moment. To me, Vader was always portrayed and spoken of as a lethal, absolute killer, but it was implied. In the comic books, it was shown a little bit, but not everybody read the comic books. In the books, it was implied. In Empire, it was shown him choking out people, but okay, he was strong in the Force. He did that. So he did. But the Rogue One, the end, the hallway scene, I'm sorry, dude, but that is the first and greatest example of Vader being shown to be an absolute murdering psychopath. What we had always been told that he was, we had never seen in all of its glory until the end hallway scene in Rogue One. Had Rogue One not been made, we would not have been given that. Just going back, like I said, with the prequels. If the prequels had not been made, we would not have been given Darth Maul. We would not have been given Anakin versus Obi-Wan. We'd only heard of these things. We'd only heard of what happened. We actually got to see what happened. We actually got to see how much of a badass Yoda is, not just told that he was. This was Vader's moment. This was just the epitome of who Vader was that one rebel banging on the glass screaming, "Help us." At that moment, you're like, fuck, dude, they're all dead. Like, they're all dead. I didn't think he was going to get all of them. He got all of them. Even violently, the dude dude's like banging on the door, putting the Death Star plans through it, and then you see the saber come through the door. You're like, damn, dude. I know he's dead, but that dude got murdered. That to me is shit. I can't even. I'm out of words. It is the most visceral oh shit moment in all of Star Wars that will always be that way. That to me is that. The Last Jedi. Okay, there were porgs. That was good. Rey's training was okay. Positives. Come on, be positive. Yoda. Seeing Yoda again was amazing. Positives. Come on, be positive. No, I can't do it. Luke Skywalker died. Luke Skywalker died. He died. Fuck that shit. Solo was good. Solo was enjoyable. It was fun. If you can remove your mindset and go, okay, Han Solo as the character that he was created by George, meaning the scoundrel with a heart of gold, then this was an excellent movie. You can't go Han Solo as played by Harrison Ford. I know that's an impossible task. You have to do that in order to enjoy Solo, in my opinion. Because if not, then you're sitting there for 2 hours going like, Alden is doing a Harrison Ford impression of Han Solo, and then you miss the fun of the movie. And dude, Donald Glover as Lando is like the best casting choice of like ever. I'm sorry. Emilia Clarke as Kira is great. Woody Harrelson was great. But dude, Donald Glover's Lando was just that's perfection. That is like a fine aged wine from the greatest vineyard ever. The dude's capes were off the chain. Seeing the Falcon like new for the very first time was amazing. Seeing Chewbacca as like dude was eating people. They didn't show it, but basically they implied that Chewbacca was gnawing on some people, which I guess is par for the course, seeing as how he was about to eat a pork in this one. Fuck you! You killed Luke Skywalker, bastards. But anyway, that's a great Solo is a great fun movie. It adds to the lore in some ingenious ways. To see that Woody Harrelson's character had the war as a disguise, the Lando suit from over the Sarlacc pit in Return of the Jedi, that was a hell of a callback. The small little things that if you go, oh man, okay, the fucking dice from A New Hope, Empire, Return of the Jedi, the dice from The Last Jedi, you got to see it where it came from for the very first time. That's the damn dice. That's Han's dice. So all those things rolled into one, made it an enjoyable trip. All right, I'm going to close with that. Also want to give a shout out to what also has fueled my love for Star Wars over the last couple of years, especially. It's not movie related per se in cinema, but online. It would do yourself a big service to check out a YouTube channel called Auralnauts. They have made some of the greatest, if not the greatest, Star Wars parody movies, and I mean parody in a good way, not in a they're making fun of it way. It's like a love letter to Star Wars in the funniest way possible. Basically, Obi-Wan calling everybody bitches, and okay, that's all I need to say. Just YouTube their channel, watch the movies, and enjoy it.